This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Being your best self feels good for your loved ones and for you. Visit betterhelp.com/gen2gen and get back to being you. To another episode of Gen to Gen. My name is Matthew Espinosa.
This is Erik Griffin.
We're with the lovely guest,
Doug Ellin. I guess I'm the older generation.
Yes, that's us. Yeah.
Well, what is your guys' age difference? I feel like.
Where you at? Go ahead. You go first.
53 and
we're
5
close. We're close.
Yeah,
I'm 49. We're in the thing. Because I'm sick of his young pups that come in all the time. It's just all this and everything's like, oh, we don't know what Voltron is. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it's good to have somebody.
I still don't know. What is a Voltron?
I'm not sure I do, but I'm doing a podcast with a young co-host now too. So it's funny when I ask her have you seen this movie, and she doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's weird.
Well, what is your age difference between you and your guest or your co-host?
Breezy is 33, maybe. She's on the show All American on CW, but so it's like 20 years. But she's great. She's amazing. She was on.
That's how I feel about this one.
Yeah,
but it is weird. It is weird, because I always say our this generation we're in, we've seen the greatest amount of change technologically than they have, you know. And then so that's why we look back and we'd be like, oh, I had a rotary phone. I had it was black and white. I had a black and white TV when I was a kid. I remember when my mom got a color TV, and I was like mind blown.
Color TV. My father got the first remote control. It was literally this thing that you jammed on a TV used to have to walk up and turn the channel. There was
dial.
2, 4, 7, the dial. So this was like a mechanical thing that went on there, and you'd press the button and it would go and turn it very slowly, and you're like, oh my God, this is the sickest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Unbelievable.
I never have to get up again,
And then we had the bunny rabbit ears.
Oh, yeah.
Was the remote control connected to the TV? Was it like a wire that connected?
The first one was.
I am talking before this. This is wires and everything. Then cable comes out, which was a big wire with this big box, which, there were 30 channels, and none of them had anything on anything,
Remember On TV?
Yeah.
There's just, when you look back on some of the nonsense that, I feel like we went through a lot of really terrible inventions.
Yeah, but it got us here.
Yeah, but it got us.
I mean, ESPN. Think what ESPN was 30 years ago. How are you watching bullfighting at 3 a.m. And, and you're
really?
what is this? Now it's the NFL, which now probably Barstool 5 years will take over the NFL.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
Wow, that is actually crazy to think about, because Barstool especially, they've taken so many different avenues in that space.
Yep.
Well, I remember, but in other countries though, I mean, you travel a lot, right? I mean,
I used to before the world ended.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I still travel a lot for stand-up. And especially when I go to Canada and I look at their sports network and the nonsense that they show on a daily basis. We're very much about the major sports.
Yeah.
It's going to be basketball first, basketball, then baseball if it's the playoffs or something, and then we go down from there. You'll be in Canada, and it'll be in the badminton championships, or first round of the badminton tournament.
But
you're
ESPN,
what?
30 years ago, you would have been lucky to have badminton championships. I'm serious though. I mean, just remember what used to be on there. And I was like, what are they doing with this thing? And then they did what they did, and it worked. So.
Well, for everyone who might not know Doug Ellin, which is honestly not that many people, I feel like everyone would know.
There's plenty of people who have no idea.
Yeah, maybe your fans.
Okay, maybe from my generation, maybe, but creator of Entourage. I remember actually when I was probably around 6 years old, 7 years old, we didn't have the HBO channel. We didn't have it bought, I guess, because you have to buy it.
Yeah.
And I always remember, I don't know. Okay, you don't have to laugh. Okay. I actually remember all the times when I'm going through channels, I would always see the word Entourage. I never remembered any other show name except always seeing the word Entourage, and I never knew what it was because I could never see. You'd have to buy the channel, and I'm 6. I'm not gonna go and buy a channel, so I never knew what it was, and I'm thinking that it was maybe something like.
What did you think it was?
I don't know, something not a TV show, maybe on the other side of things where it was. A kid really shouldn't see it. You know what I'm saying?
He shouldn't. A 6-year-old should not.
6-year-old, shouldn't. But moving forward, 10 years later, around 9 years later, I ended up moving to Los Angeles and running around, doing my thing, doing auditions, all this stuff.
All of a sudden, you realize you're Vince.
I swear within the first month, 3 different people told me, they were like, have you seen Entourage? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen Entourage. Like, oh my gosh, man, you remind me of Vinny. Like, you gotta check it out. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then it was the third person that told me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna see what they're talking about. And then I just was hooked. I've now seen it like 5 times every episode.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It is amazing.
When did you feel like you had something special?
I'm like a neurotic negative Jew, so I never feel that way. I mean, you know, it's not about hating it. It's like, you know, I made 2 movies before Entourage, both sold to studios. I thought my life was set. Then they come out, they don't do well. People torture you, and you're like, Jesus, okay. But Entourage, critically, we were really well received instantaneously. And then, you know, TiVo was just coming out, which was recording things at different times. So ratings were hard to see. So I was walking around the whole first season like ready to. And then when Chris Albrecht, the head of HBO, called me and said, you know, how you feeling? I'm like, I feel like shit. What do you mean? Like, our numbers are like down from Sex and the City? He goes, no, they're not. Like, people are watching it at different times and in groups of people. He goes, it's all good. But I've never been a person who sits around and goes, oh, we got something great here. But, you know, when I got my cast together, I felt like we could do something good. You know?
That's good. You know, it's funny you say that about TiVo and stuff. You know, I think they always lied to us about the ability to track what people were watching. And the moment I knew that is when Janet Jackson's titty popped out at the Super Bowl, because they said it was the most TiVo'd thing, and I go, well, how do you know that?
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you know it was the most TiVo'd thing?
Right.
So I think they always had the ability to be like, oh, we know who's watching what.
Right.
They just don't want us to know that.
Yeah.
They don't want a creator of a show to know, hey, you know, you're doing really good.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know
They're not going
that.
to give you that juice.
Yeah,
they don't want to give you that
you're
sauce.
going to come back and be like, on the renegotiation, hey, remember how we're doing really well? They're like,
something you told me.
But, you know, the biggest thing for Entourage was we felt the word of mouth. You'd be sitting in a restaurant and hear someone talking about it, or, you know, when I started walking around with the guys and all of a sudden people were screaming at them, and we were like, holy shit, because we didn't know what was really happening out there, but it was cool. So.
Well, speaking of the casting process, what was that like? Did you have one person in mind? Did you have, and then it kind of came together?
I had Jeremy Piven written into my first outline before I ever wrote anything. So,
as Ari?
As Ari.
Gotcha.
Before, he wasn't even Ari. He was Jeff Jacobs, who was my agent at the time, before I ever met Ari. I didn't meet Ari until I was pitching the show at HBO, and I met the real Ari Emanuel, who, you know, is head at William Morris, and I was like, holy shit, this guy is like a whole other level of a character. And Jeremy, you know, I saw him on Larry Sanders and all the things he'd done before, and I wanted him. But the rest of the guys, they all just came in and auditioned. And, you know, it was 6 months. HBO, the best thing about HBO, especially back then, was you don't need to rush. Find the perfect cast. Don't start until you're ready, and that's what we did. So,
do you feel like the times have changed where now people are in more of a rush to get things out? Take away everything that's been going on over the past year. Do you think productions in general, because obviously there's a lot more production companies just popping up every other day. Do you think the casting processes have changed with that?
The biggest difference I see in the casting process is 10 years ago, 15 years ago, TV was about a writer. And movies were about a movie star. Now TV is about getting a movie star onto your TV show. And so now it's like, okay, let's go get Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and we have a show, as opposed to we have a great script, let's go cast it. So, you know, there's more content than ever, so that's great. But I think everybody has got so many options that people have to find ways to get people to look at it.
Now, do you have a little contempt for the business sometimes about like?
I mean, I always had contempt for the business, and I think that's why Entourage was successful, because I wrote it from a place of me being an outsider from New York who really does hate the business and always did. And even in success, I couldn't stand most of the people in it, and I still feel the same way.
Yeah, I could feel that. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, I just did a pilot. You know, in the middle of a pandemic, which was like a nightmare. You know, like you know, the audition, testing, the whole process was done by Zoom.
Right.
First time I met the cast and anybody was when we shot. Yeah. But just like I just felt like through that whole process, it was just like the needling at the thing with the notes and all this stuff. Because I feel like a network comes to you and says, you here's a show. You go, here's my show, and they go, we love this. We want you to make it. I wish they would just go, let you make it. Yeah. And then come and they could be like, well, we like this or don't like it.
I mean, look, I get it's a business and everybody's got their jobs and jobs are on the line. When you're going to make a TV show and you're going to spend $10 to $50 million on it, obviously there's a lot of people who are going to have opinions on it. But it's a lot of time wasting, and it's a lot of not trusting in the people that you hire, which, again, everybody's got to do the job the way they do, so I'm not going to necessarily judge them, but no, I do not like it. So.
Yeah, neither do I.
Speaking of that, what do you think was the biggest issue with Entourage? Do you think like that you felt like you faced? Was it dealing with the people? Because like you said, you came from East Coast to West Coast. I'm from East Coast as well, so I'm new to this whole world as well. So do you think that was one of the more bigger issues or smaller issues that you had to face, was the actual business aspect of it?
Well, I mean, in creating the show, and again, I love everybody who was there at the time at HBO. So, and I get it. I'd never run a show. I'd made 2 movies that sold, and they didn't perform particularly well at the box office, but they were independent movies. But
what were the movies? Because you mentioned it twice.
One was called Fat Beach. One was called Kissing a Fool. And you know, both still play around the world, and they were both independent and made money for the people who put up the money. But anyway, my point is that they, you know, they noted me to death, and it went on and on and on. And I probably did 1.5 years of changing that script over and over.
Prior to it even getting first season shot?
No first season. They start with a pilot. Then you wait and see if your pilot gets picked up. So it was a long, dragged out process, and it was conflicting notes from lots of people. But at the end of the day, we got it where it needed to be, and that was it. Really, it was after that my problem started, when I was doing my next show and started getting notes from everybody again as if I'd never done anything. And that's, you know, like I said, they have their jobs to do, and they have to do it. And in my mind, they're an obstacle to what I would like to do.
You know, I think it's so funny. It would be like if I want to build a house, and you're my architect, and you give me a design of the house, and I go, love it. And then you start building the house. And in the building of this house, I go, can we move the den?
Yeah.
Maybe can we go with like...
But that's what does happen.
I know, but this is what happens, though. But this is what happens. At the end, I see this house, and I go, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Because you ruined it in the making process. If you would have just let me build the house that you said you wanted.
Right. But at the same time, the people who are paying, they get to decide what they want to do. And you have to deal with that if you want to be in the business. But you're asking me if I like it? No, I don't like it. Yeah.
So how did you get the idea in the first place?
So Mark Wahlberg brought it to me. He, you know, used
it
to
was about him, right?
I mean, it started
loosely
inspired by him for sure, you know, but Mark used to follow his friends around with a camera, and he was like, we want to do the show about that. There wasn't much more to it than that. And then we started figuring out it was. And then when we tried to cast it, we couldn't find Mark Wahlberg. Like, we looked hard, and Adrian was great, but a completely different type. And then, you know, Mark was great enough to go. I said, listen, I need to, you know, and it was great that he trusted me. Unlike some executives do, he trusted me. But I said, I need to make it New Yorkers. I need to kind of write about what I know. And he let me go. So that was great. But it was definitely inspired by Mark and started with him.
Yeah, because he's from Boston. Yeah. That's why, because I had heard that. I'm like, oh, some people said it was about this person's life and this person's life. And then I heard a lot that it was about Mark Wahlberg's life. And I was like, oh, but these guys are from New York and he's from Boston. So I've always wondered.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of people.
Some dudes, like, you know, dudes that like grew up together. And then when one guy gets famous and he keeps them with, I mean, you know what I mean? That's
I mean, really what it was, they wanted, you know, like, I don't know about the Hollywood stuff. What got me excited about it was about friendship. And at the time, this is before The Hangover, this is before all of Judd Apatow's movies. I was like, there really aren't any shows where guys talk like guys, which it's funny now because before that, when there was Animal House and Porky's, there were all these things. And then that went out of favor and people said, we can't talk like that. That's bad. So then Entourage came out and everybody was like, holy shit. This is how people really talk. And then all those movies came out. And now it's kind of gone back where people are like, you can't talk like this.
I was going to say, in this climate we are now, you think Entourage could be made? If you were starting now.
The exact script, there's not a shot in hell. No. 0% chance it could be made now. Now, what will happen in 5 years? Even in the last 3 years, you know, I'm doing this podcast, Victory the Podcast, with 2 of the guys from Entourage. And I feel that the change is really happening now, and the younger generation is finding it. And they're starting to realize, like, wait, why are people saying this is so horrible while Squid Games is marketed to 9-year-olds and they're executing 50 people in the first 5 minutes? Right. So I think people are starting to go.
Because killing people is different from hurting their feelings.
Yes. And you know, it's like, to me, art, and again, Squid Games, like it or not, I'm not even judging whether you like it. I just know that kids are watching it. Right?
Yeah.
It's one of the most violent things I've ever seen.
But kids shouldn't even be watching. But you think about, like, Hunger Games. Is a kid's thing, and it was like, you know, kids are getting killed. I mean,
kids like, killing kids. It's just like, what? Like, there is a weird line with what when we draw lines.
Yeah, but for me, art should be as authentic to the people who are making it as possible. And then adults should decide whether their children are allowed to watch it or not. And everybody else should be responsible enough to decide what they could do. You know?
See, that's our generation. It's common sense. It's like we're saying, like, that's why we have ratings. If it says rated R, it means like this is adult content. But these young people, They even when they say, well, yeah, I know you have rated R on it, but yes, but you made fun of a fat girl, and we have, it's like all of these kinds of things that there's no context. Yeah. There's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're sitting here from this thing being like, oh, come on, that's our excuse. That's how we want to say. We just want to go, come on, really? And then they're going, well, people have feelings and blah 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 blah. So now we're stuck at this point where there's no art. Yeah. Like it's very hard to please everyone.
I mean, listen, I think Chappelle's the real, obviously.
I was about to say Chappelle. He's still pushing those.
He's the best example, and this is the first time he's kind of in a controversy. But to me, the people that are yelling, and look, some things are good. It's good. Honestly, there's words on Entourage I would never write again. Not because it's PC, because I've evolved and because the world has evolved. Words that I said as a kid that were meant to be harmless, I now understand the effect they may have on somebody else. I'm not a moron. Yeah. But when Chappelle talks about the things that he talks about in these brilliant ways and is able to layer it in, and then people still want to come after him and try to censor him, it's horrifying,
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, you get a sense of like, I think it's our job as an artist is to make a choice whether we want to say something harshly to make our point, or if we want to soften it to really have a biting point. Like sometimes I think it can bite harder when it's softer, because sometimes the message gets lost in the delivery.
Well, to me, and I'm not saying I'm in a level of Chappelle, but I don't think about it. I grow how I grow, and I say what I say. As I told you guys before we started, I'm currently suspended from Instagram for God knows what. So I'm definitely not shy or quiet. At the same time, I understand when the line is crossed. But some people may not get that. But I don't spend a lot of time going, I'm going to write this so it's not crossing that line. And I think good art will never come out of something like that.
Yeah. What would be like what's a passion project for you? Like, what would be the thing that you go, I would love to be able to make this? What would that be?
You know what? It doesn't even exist for me anymore. It really doesn't.
They beat you down that much.
It's not that I'm beat down. I'm really I'm actually doing podcasts now, and honestly, that's my passion. I started out as a stand-up, which the anxiety of that was such torture to me.
I get it.
I could never do that. I could never do stand-up.
It's tough, but it's good for everything else, and it's kind of all writing, stand-up. It's all led me to this place where I can talk freely and I don't have to worry about answering to anybody. But passion projects that I grew up on making movies and this, it doesn't really interest me that much anymore. So.
Got you. So you don't really. So then I like that. But you sound like a man who's happy.
Right now I am for the moment. I'd like to get back on Instagram so I could promote what I'm doing. But other than that, I'm happy. So
you have shifted more away from TV and film to focus more on the podcast space.
I mean, to be honest with you, I shifted a long time ago. After Entourage, I had another show I did with Michael Rappaport, Michael Imperioli, and Eddie Burns, and I think it was a great show, and I was excited, but at the same time, I was like, do I want to grind another 10 years of my life away on a show that I never could have imagined HBO wasn't going to let me do, but at the same time, I was like, do I really want to do it? So I have not fought. Everyone's like, why did you do another show? This and that. I have not fought to do it because I don't love all of the things that go along with it, so I wish this avenue was available earlier, because I do feel like I get to do everything that I like to do in this manner. So, I feel good.
I totally get it. Yeah. I mean, it's like I've been on like Workaholics. I just went to a destination wedding. Adam Devine got married.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I was in Cabo. It was beautiful. I'm all about destination weddings now. I actually want to go to whatever hotel resort. I want to get a list of who's coming to do a wedding. Then I want to try to befriend those people.
Just hit them up. Just get on the list right before.
So I can get that discount. I mean,
it's a Wedding Crashers sequel.
You know what I mean? But anyways, and it was I was just kind of talking with them, and I thought about it. Even Workaholics never could be made now. You know?
I mean, look, Eddie. I grew up. Eddie Murphy was my idol.
Yeah,
Richard Pryor. Go watch Eddie Murphy's Delirious. Go watch Raw. I mean, the things he says in that are 100 times worse than anything you're ever going to hear on Entourage. But everything back at the time, and look, as a 11-year-old, I knew every syllable of that
Me too, man.
And I never,
It's why I became a stand-up. I used to be able to do every little nuance in Raw.
Ice Cream Man.
Yeah, I used to be able to say it, and I loved it so much, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
You know? And it was like, it's crazy. You know, I always say, like, if your parents, because this is funny that we're talking generationally, and that's what this show is about, gen to gen. But if I think about, like, my mom, I think about, like, any parent. If your parent is over 70, they're probably racist, you know? And it's just a thing. Yeah. Like, it's not like, you know, hateful. It's just their vernacular and things that they said back in that day. Yeah. If they say it now, like my mom has dementia, you know, and she's reliving old beefs on Instagram, on Facebook. Right. And the things that she says is like, this is what that was okay. Yeah. Or maybe it wasn't okay, but I mean, you know, it was like a word play that you just go, Mom, you can't say this.
Yeah. I mean, look, the way I grew up was like, I grew up in a neighborhood with Jews, Italians, and Irish, and everybody talked about everybody. It was, the Italians are the mob, the Irish are drunks, the Jews are taking everybody's money. I mean, that's just what it was. And I think it's a better world that everybody tries to think what they're saying and not say stupid generalizations. But at the same time, to me right now, we're segregating us back where we were 30 years ago. Yes, I think it's getting absolutely, like, I really did believe 10 years ago there was a time where we would not be like, oh, my friend's coming over. Who's your friend? Oh, you know, the black guy. Like, I believed we would get to a place where my friend Jeff's coming over and nobody was thinking about it. That to me is not going to happen in my lifetime.
At the same time, though, you know, it's like there is a time and place for that, you know? It's like, you know, I always say, like, if like you're describing someone, you describe them. Yeah. Like, but like if they were robbing a liquor store and the cops came and said, hey, what does that person look like? You're not going to be like, oh, they were calorically challenged, a pigment. You know, you'd be like, it's a fat black dude. He had a beard and what you would say these things. And in certain cases, it's like it doesn't mean that you're racist. Yeah. That's the thing that I take offense to.
I mean, I feel like there's a difference between descriptions and racism. You know, like,
well, not on the internet.
Context is everything.
Context is everything. Like you said,
what's behind what you're trying to say, and you know that's why you know some of the stuff people talk about in Entourage, where Ari would say things. At the end of the day, if you remember, Ari loved Lloyd. He said some stupid. Again, nobody would say it. And people got, can Entourage be made today? Nobody would talk like that in an office today because they would be fired in about 45 seconds.
As they should be.
But yeah, I mean, and again, hopefully there'll be a world where nobody thinks those things. But what he was a character who abused everybody, you know, no matter what their background was. And is he from another generation? Probably. And hopefully we'll get to a better place where people find other ways to be funny. But at the time, you know, it's funny to look back on, you know, like, we were like, you know, the Emmy-nominated show every year. The show that the New York Times was writing was realistic. And what I was doing was reflecting what Hollywood was in 2000.
In that time, yeah. So if you were to do a reboot, obviously it would most likely reflect 2021.
It would be like John Gruden. What's happening to him right now? It'd be like an Ari email from 10 years ago would come out where he's saying things to Lloyd, and he would be like on the chopping block because of that.
Now, again, Gruden's email is different because Gruden's email, and I'm not looking to go on to Gruden. You know what's happening with him? He's the coach of the Raiders.
He's the coach of the Raiders.
I mean, Gruden's email was a racist comment behind someone's back. Ari was a guy who would talk directly to you and say shit that might have been wrong and stupid. But again, I'm not Ari, so the fact that I ever have to defend anything I wrote,
something you wrote,
is like idiotic. Why not say, well, you also wrote this character who was a really nice female who cared about everybody. So when someone's writing characters, it's irrelevant to what they're saying. If you don't like that character, that's fine, but I don't think you go back and start talking about the writer. And again, I find it extremely weird that Entourage has become this kind of poster child for stuff and things. Again, I like Squid Games. I don't like that it's like marketed to 10-year-olds, but I like the show. But I'm saying, you know, we need to look at what's happening. And, you know, right when Entourage was coming out, Jordan Belfort's a friend of mine, and Wolf of Wall Street was coming out. And, I mean, I watched that movie, which every critic in the world, and I love it, by the way, but every critic in the world was like, what a great movie. I'm like, it's Entourage on steroids, and these guys are actually bad people, like in the show. The guys
taking money from other people.
Taking money from other people, abusing little people, doing this. Like the Entourage guys were actually really good people who cared about their friends and cared about loyalty and cared about family. So, you know, but again,
you know what I always wondered about Wolf of Wall Street is that did they pay that actress $10,000 to cut her hair?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a good question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then it would be like, all right, because that would be great if they did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If they actually gave her that 10K,
yeah, if they gave
in
the
that
actress
scene.
10,000. You know what I mean? But did they?
Well,
was she making a day rate?
The whole budget.
Did she get her day rate?
The whole
You know what I
budget
mean?
of that movie was stolen from the Malaysian people, so they probably paid everybody a lot extra than they should have. It was like a $150 million budget on that movie, and the producer's been on the lam for like a decade now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Fall can be hectic, but HelloFresh's recipes save time you'd otherwise spend on meal prepping, grocery shopping, and shopping, so you can focus on getting back into a new routine and spending quality time with the family. HelloFresh offers 50 menu and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, calorie smart, and gourmet options, providing plenty of variety. Being able to have HelloFresh meals is just so amazing because you don't have to spend any time cooking. You just pop it in and pop it out and pop it in your mouth. You know, at the end of the day, the meals are amazing. It makes cooking so easy, so fast, and it saves you so much time, especially on those busy weeknights. So thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode. You guys can go to HelloFresh.com/Gen2Gen14 and use code Gen2Gen14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. Again, that is HelloFresh.com/Gen2Gen14 and use code Gen2Gen14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. Sorry to have a commercial break, but I need to tell you guys really quickly about Hoobie. That is HOO.be. It is the new invite-only link in bio platform that you've been seeing everywhere on the internet. I've had it in my bio. It's been in Gen2Gen's bio for a long time now, so be sure to check it out. HOO.be on Instagram. They're doing a bunch of cool stuff. And if you want to get in early, potentially, there's a waitlist that you can hop on now. It is HOO.be/waitlist/Matthew. Again, that is Hoobie/waitlist/Matthew. Thank you again, Hoobie, for sponsoring this episode and a lot of the previous episodes. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I also did an awesome little interview on their page as well, so be sure to check it out. Anyways, thank you again, Hoobie. See you later. So you said you got started off in stand-up. So when did you make that shift to writing, and why did you make that shift to writing? You just said you didn't like stand-up?
So I really had no idea what I was doing.
How old were you at this point?
21, 22. I graduated college, was supposed to go to law school, and I woke up and I'm like, I'll kill myself if I'm in law school. I told my parents I'm going to LA to do stand-up. I didn't know a single person here besides my...
Did they disown you?
Well, it was close. They gave me 6 months. And they gave me 6 months of a little bit of money, which again, I appreciate that I had that, which is I'm lucky that I did. Mm-hmm. But I ended up doing stand-up and working in the mailroom at New Line Cinema. And I decided I want to make films. I'd never been on a film set. I'd never written a script. I didn't know anything. So I basically handed out flyers at New Line, said I'm doing a stand-up show to raise money, and I did my stand-up show, and Mike DeLuca, who was VP of New Line at the time, now was an Oscar-winning producer and done a lot of great stuff. He came to the show and gave me $10,000 out of his own pocket and said, go make your short film. I made it. I sold it to Showtime, got into the American Film Institute, and I never did stand-up again. So,
wow.
Because why would you?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I did.
No, I get it, but
yeah.
stand-up is I think back in that era,
Yeah.
stand-up was a means to an end. You know, it was like you did stand up because you wanted to get your movie and TV, and then you go into that.
I think that was part of my problem also with stand up. I came from like loving stand up comedy, and all the stand up comedians when I don't want to say coming up because I never got anywhere, but they were all looking for a sitcom, and I was like, I love the art form of stand up comedy, but the anxiety of it, which I never, I know as you probably can tell better than me, you got to learn how to get through that. And I never got to that place where I could get on stage without drinking, and so it for me, it was a means to an end. And I even honestly, writing and creating a show was probably a means to an end. And whether I make any money doing podcasting or not, it is something that I like doing. So,
well, I mean, it's great just to your credit, man. I mean, just, toot your horn. I mean, you did something actually pretty amazing, and you've set yourself up now, hopefully, that you can do whatever the hell you want.
Well, that's the thing, and I appreciate that, but I grinded my ass away for a decade and cost myself a marriage over this show, and I feel pretty good that provided they don't come up with something that gets me to 130, 140, I can live however I want right now, so that's exactly right, and that's the goal, and people say it all the time, don't you want to make another show? And I'm like, I kind of want all the rewards, but no, I don't really want to do all the shit of it. I really don't.
You're like Allen Iverson. We talk about practice.
Exactly. If I could avoid practice and just play the game. Yeah.
Well, do you think if you had like did you write Entourage all by yourself each episode, or you had other people?
I had a team, Rob Wayz, who you guys, or you were on his podcast, and I had a few other people.
But the original, though, it was your pilot.
Was
the
your
original
pilot?
is my
Okay,
pilot.
cool.
And
that's how it usually works.
I wrote a large portion of a lot of what went through that show. I mean, a lot of it is my life, and and Ari's son was played by my son, and his wife was based on my wife, and a lot of the stories from that show were really stories from my life. So I put a lot of effort and time into it.
I was super unaware, and so I think it was the third time around when I was watching all of it again, where I was like. Cause I'd watch always the intro, and I'm like, man, what does Doug even look like? I never knew. So I looked up. I was like, no way, that's the guy from the casting rooms. No way.
Yeah.
I noticed right away.
See, that's my desperate need for attention. I put myself in the show with Wayz, by the way. Wayz is in
I
there
noticed.
too.
He was the one on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayz was sitting next to him, next to Larry Charles also.
Okay.
But, I'm telling you, like, one of the greatest feelings I ever had was, like, I was nominated for an Emmy and Golden Globes, and, like, after that episode aired, I was at Fred Siegel, and, like, all these cute girls were like, you were an extra on Entourage last night. I was like, yes, and I love that.
But did they know you were the same one that wrote
They had
it?
no idea. And I don't care. Like, I
That's
always
cool, though.
see, the thing is and why podcasting is a good thing. I like performing, but I also don't like to leave my house. So I get to do both and just, be like this. So
Wow, that's interesting. So do you think writing played that role in you wanting to be in your house more? Or do you think that if you maybe wanted to get in front of the camera, you'd have this automatic need to go out of your house all the time and do all these different projects? So do you think just because you like writing?
I think because I'm such an antisocial person, I started writing. I
Got
don't think
it.
that was
Okay.
ever the thing that I was really meant to do, to be honest with
I
you.
think
And,
that's me right now, personally.
I mean, honestly, I'm like such an I'm actually like, I have a lot of friends, but I'm very good with this whole new texting world. I'm great texting with my friends. They're like, we're going to Vegas next weekend. I'm like, nah, I don't need to go to Vegas with you. You guys let me know how it is. I'll stay with my girlfriend and have
I'll
a good time,
vicariously live through y'all's life
and
over
honestly,
videos and pictures y'all send me.
And that's why everyone always asks, Entourage, you must have lived that life. No, I observed other people living that life, and I really watched it, and that's what great comedians do. Again, I'm not saying I'm a great comedian or ever was, but that's what you do. You watch other people, you find things that are interesting about that angle, and that's why and why it's so frustrating when I ever hear anything about Entourage. I got this town down like to a science, and everyone who was in this town at the time knew it, and that's why everyone was fans of it, and that's why agents were so happy about it. That's why the real Ari was so thrilled to be I'm Ari Gold, you know? Like, and to see. One of the great things about podcasting is you can change that legacy, and you can get people to understand there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes to understand how these things end up where they are,
Well, I would say, too, that, as a stand-up, and I've been doing it for a long time, what you're doing is very much an enhanced version of that. Like, like a lot of times when you're on stage, you're acting. But you're not that person.
Yeah,
you're a heightened version of yourself, and your scene partner is the crowd. You know what I mean? And you're listening and all that. So, I mean, this is just a different version of like that, and actually a more advanced version.
Yeah.
So. Again,
it combines all of it.
It really does.
And when you're doing a podcast, which you're learning as you go, as I am, listening, just like acting, is such an important thing. And I think one of the reasons why this thing is so good for me, most people don't listen. And you can find you're sitting at a table with people, and you're like, God, nobody listens to a word anyone says. They all just want to talk. And I like this format because for whatever reason, humans, when they have a mic in front of them, they go, I should probably try not to interrupt over and over and over, So it's
that doesn't always work. I interrupt.
Yeah, I feel like it also depends on which guests you have on at that time and how close you are with them and that rapport, having that back and forth. Like, if he's saying something or if I'm saying something he doesn't like, he's going to be like, no. I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to put a pin in that so I can address this nonsense. Yeah. That's the actual quote he said. So, no, but I agree. I think it's, I'm learning because at the end of the day, this is still my first 10 episodes I've ever done in podcasting. You both have done a lot more
than
me.
Doing a good job.
And I'm trying. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, but I mean, it's great that you're starting at this age and you're doing something that I don't know what you want to do. You got a lot of followers and you got a lot of opportunities that'll come, which is, like Wahlberg started out as, he was doing an underwear models, and all of a sudden he's nominated for Academy Awards because he's great and he works his ass off. But it's about taking those opportunities, getting better, getting experience at whatever it is you want to do,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, again, it's like, instead of thinking of things as like a means to an end, it's more like you're thinking about things as like, this is just another road, or like I use this to catapult myself into this other thing. I mean, he's a great example of that, rapper, you know what I mean? And then like, I remember that movie he did with Reese Witherspoon? Fear.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first time, and it reminded me actually of when Will Smith did that movie, where he played like the con man. He was gay.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot the name of that one.
Yeah.
6 Degrees of Separation. Yeah. And I remember it's like you start to see someone in a different light.
Yeah.
And that's all that it really takes, because you get typecast so easily in this town.
Yeah.
And like people like that, they're so dynamic, and they go like, no, I'm also this now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this.
Yeah. But what they have in common is work ethic.
Yeah.
That is so important. And I think, for you and all the influencers I've met and stuff, it'll be really interesting to see who's going to take it and turn it into something, and who you're going to be talking about 5 years from now going, remember that guy who had 40 million followers? What the fuck happened to him? So it is about, I believe, this town, and I've now seen it for 30 years, really maximizing your opportunities, finding what your talents are, and really honing them to the best of your ability,
Yeah, and I feel like, too, like... also understanding the times and how they're changing, because like you could work hard all the time, but if you're not innovating and understanding which times are changing, then you'll get lost.
Yep.
A good analogy for that would be like, it's like a baseball swing. You might be swinging as hard as you can, or there might be a technique that you're using, and you might hit the ball, but someone can come to you and be like, you know what, if you swung it this way, you wouldn't need to use as much energy. So it's all about technique.
Yeah,
it's all
work
about
smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and that is the key, but working hard still at the end of the day. You got to do it. And I've seen so many people that I came up with in this town who have just gone bye-bye, and they didn't want to work. They wanted to be at the clubs every night, and some people can get away with it because they have that much talent, but most people have to work,
Yeah. Or they didn't know. I think a lot of times people just don't know what to do. It's like there's no blueprint.
That's the most difficult part about it. Is
like,
that
look at your
no
story that
blueprint.
you just said. You was like, I wanted to be a stand-up, but you met a guy who saw something in you, and he was like, here's 10 grand and go do this. There's no blueprint for that. You got people out here like, I got to find a guy that's going to give me 10 grand. Where's he at?
Yeah, but like I said, my blueprint was I went to a UCLA screenwriting class at night. I wrote a script. I said I went into the mailroom and handed out flyers to people along with the mail, and I said, please come see me tonight and please give me money. Now, they all could have said you suck and here's no money. So fortunately, I had a little bit of talent, at least, that he saw, and he was willing to do that. So.
Well, see, that's really important, the distinction right there you're saying, and that's as important. It's like, it's like when luck meets opportunity, you have to be ready.
Yeah.
That's also what you're talking about is prepare yourself. Take the writing classes, take the acting classes, go to school, do all the things that you need to do. So when an opportunity comes, you're not going to be like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot. Because that's what I think happens to certain people. They just go, and with these influencers too, they just go like, oh, you got this many followers. Well, let's put them in a movie. And then they're in the movie, and they don't even know how to act, or they don't know how to do anything.
I had friends who were in sitcoms in the early 2000s, and I used to say to them, listen, I know it seems so easy, but go tell your producer you want to direct an episode. Go get in the writer's room and learn how to do that. Even if you don't love it, just learn all of the stuff that you can, so you have as much ammunition to get where you want.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was on set for my first film, I was asking every person what their job is and how they get into it. I was literally every person on set I would go up to, and I was the lead and executive producer of the film. So like, going up to the lighting guy or the key grip or whatever it may be, like you're just asking them questions and how they got into it and all this stuff. Like I just wanted to learn as much, and I still do want to learn as much about the business as possible. So I can also, it just makes me have an appreciation for it. It makes me feel like I'm on some football team or something, and like everyone has to do their job or this play won't happen. This touchdown can't even have the ability of making it even happen because no one's doing their job. So I just, by me asking everyone what they do and how they do it when they got into it, it makes me have this greater appreciation for sets in general.
Yeah. And it also gives you knowledge that you can hopefully use. You have no idea. Like you have no idea how much you're going to change in the next 10, 15 years and what the technology is going to change and what you might want to do. And I think that's why, like we're talking about what's really changing. In 5 years, for all we know, we're making a TV show here and distributing it ourselves, and we don't need anybody to give us notes. And the audience will determine whether they like it or they don't like it.
I feel, you know what's funny? I feel like they thought that was going to happen. You know, I feel like there was a time where they thought, like, there was a talk of like, well, man, YouTube's going to take over TV. And it's just like, I think, well, you've never been on a set. You know, because three guys in their garage with an iPhone is not gonna. It's not gonna take over. What all it took to do Entourage.
Of course not. But the first short film I made, which sold to Showtime, and I had David Schwimmer before Friends, and Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, and Johnny Silverman. That movie took me a year to get made with that money and editing. I could do it in an hour now. So
right.
You still have to have the talent. But the technology is going to keep moving in a way that I think you could make a movie in your garage where people go, wow, this guy is good.
Because you had the work ethic and the thing you wanted to do. I'm just saying, I just feel like there's like not the average Joe.
Well, it's like everything else. I mean, right now, I forget the podcast is like 6 million on Apple Podcasts. So obviously not everybody has something to say that people want to listen to. And
there's 6 million pods starting to
I think
drop.
It's something crazy like that.
It is something crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so... and again, you have, it's why I say you have whatever millions of followers you have, make sure you're giving them all the time that they want and figure out what's adjusting and what's changing because, all of a sudden you find
he's
like
this guy, he's all about
I love it.
Man. One of the things I admire, like I wish I had known him 20 years ago.
He wasn't even born 20 years ago.
I was 4 years old then.
You wish he was your child.
I gave birth to him. I would have froze myself and then waited for him to be like, you know what I mean?
Just grow up together.
Like, Matt, just do it. What are we gonna do next? I admire people like that. I mean, it's like, and that's it's that thing. I don't know what it is about the it factor type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, and when you see a star, and people can say whatever they want about like, well, how'd that guy, or he only did it because of this or that. Some people got that thing, man.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever watched like Will Smith's Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Like he got it, man.
Yeah.
Like there's something about Will Smith that if he wanted to sell, like he would have been, if there was no Hollywood, he would have been like one of those dudes that's like selling like insurance or and like everybody's trying to buy it or what. You know what I mean?
Well,
even if they didn't like that insurance, they just want to talk to him. They want to buy it from him.
Well, it's funny now. People dismiss influencers. Like, what were supermodels? Like, what were they? Who built billion-dollar brands, whether they started clothing companies, and even if you're just good looking, which I'm not saying that's what you are. If you're just good looking, though, it's a talent similar to singing. It's like, okay, God gave you this. Now, if you have a multiple other things like a Mark Wahlberg had, then great.
Who's a great example of that? And people hate on this person all the time. Kim Kardashian.
First of all, Kim Kardashian's a brilliant girl. I mean,
killing it.
Did you see her on SNL?
I did not see it, but I saw her with Letterman.
Let me tell you something. Her opening monologue, she killed that opening monologue. And I was like, this is what I've been saying. This ain't a dummy.
No.
They didn't go from...
very smart.
Her whole family has a thing. The mom knew. They parlayed a sex tape into $1 billion industry.
When it happens on accident, it doesn't last,
Exactly.
And I saw Kim with Letterman on that Netflix interview. I mean, she's a brilliant woman. Now, could she have done it without the sex tape? I think she would have figured out a way.
I think they would have figured out something.
I mean, Chris is a genius in general.
Yeah. So I just think that that's the kind of thing where you go like you can be like whatever influencer or not, or whatever you think, the stigma on the word influencer is starting to go away, I think.
Yeah, of course it is. And we'll see. Addison Rae's got a movie coming out. And there's no reason that one of these kids that people love watching is not going to be a movie star.
Well, I think the funny thing that Kim Kardashian, one of the things she said on her monologue, I thought was hilarious. She said, I'm used to 365 million people watching me. So I know SNL has got about 10.
It's so nuts.
So this is a little, easy day for me.
It's really crazy.
It is right. It really is the difference in what's important and what's not important anymore. And it's like, so that's been, I think, a big change in the last 10 years. We've talked about this before. I think 10 years ago or 5 years ago, influencers were very much about like, how can I get justified by Hollywood? And now they're just kind of like, I'm good. I'm gonna go box now, or I'm gonna go do a podcast. I'm gonna go do a thing.
It's all the same shit of being acknowledged by these gatekeepers
Yeah.
who get to, decide what they want. And now that's going away, and it's not just this, social justice movement that's doing it. It's these influencers going out there and going, you better take a look at us, and you better, before you miss everything.
Or even don't take a look at us because we don't need you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hollywood managers, agents, and the Hollywood establishment are trying so hard. They're desperately trying to catch these kids and be like, how can we monetize them for us?
Yeah.
And then these kids are starting to go like, hey man, I don't need you.
Yeah.
If the whole purpose of what you're doing is to make money and get people to watch, what do I need you for? I got that already.
Yeah.
And so what the industry is going to look like in another 10 years is like, it's going to be fascinating. I don't know what do you think? What do you think's next?
I think that's what I'm saying is next. I think you will have, again, a lot of people will make a lot of but I think people will make and distribute their own stuff, and they won't have to answer to people, and audiences will either come or they won't.
Right.
I mean, it's getting cheaper and cheaper to make things. It's, the iPhone, like it looks better than things, things shot on film 10 years ago. So,
I mean, I think at the end of the day with you look at music, and I've talked about this before, how, you can't go to someone's garage and make an Oscar-nominated film yet, but with music, you could go make a Grammy-nominated album in a garage with just one other person, and that's been done. It's a fact, So I think maybe as how you're talking, like I think it will eventually get to that point where someone might be able to make an Oscar-nominated short film with just 2 or 3 people. Yeah. Like, why not? And, it is like there's been other crazier things that have happened, and I think at the end of the day too, when we're talking about what will it be like in 10 years? I mean, even in just LA, I think a lot of the people who came here for the internet or came here for social media will end up leaving because they realize they don't need LA to be on the internet. Yeah. And that's even just from my own friend group, from a lot of the people I came into LA with at the age I came in with, a lot of them have left already because they realize, oh, I can make more money at my home in this other state
you
and
mean
focus.
Save more money
and live better.
But also make more money because like they're not having to spend it. So technically they are making more money or saving too. So same thing, but I mean, it all comes down to goals. I've talked about this before, but if your goal is to just be big on the internet, you could do that anywhere. Yeah. Anywhere, as long as you've got connection. That. Yeah, there's some of the biggest YouTubers don't even live in Los Angeles. They're making crazy amounts of money. But for instance, I want to be a writer. I want to be an actor. I want to be a director someday. And I can't do that in Virginia right now. I have to be in LA. I have to be doing it. I have to be in the ins and outs of it all. So that's just me, though. That's just personally what I want in my goals. So I think, as time goes on, people are going to start figuring out their goals and understanding that they don't need to be in LA to be on the internet.
Right. Well, we talk about technology a lot, and I do agree that the technology is moving so fast that who knows what it's going to be. Because I just did a commercial where they had this thing called a Cobra, and it was a camera. The camera was like, it was a long cylinder, and it was connected to a robot. Right. And then they set it up. It was like first position. Then it was like second position. And then, all right, action. We did 17 takes like this because it was just like, And I thought, first thing I thought was, well, there goes somebody's job. That was my first thing. I was like, because before it'd be like, okay, first position. And it's like 3 guys got to move the thing. And all these people, now they're just like 1 guy at a thing. They still had a focus guy. And I thought, well, that guy's going to be gone soon too. Right. Yeah. And then, there will be like, you'll be like, we won't need these clowns.
But then the access. But then the access to get to that technology alone is going to be very expensive until time starts to
until it's not
exactly. So even then, it's still going to be such a not accessible thing except for the gatekeeper.
I don't know. I think it might come around because I remember when I had headshots. Remember we had black and white headshots.
Yeah, I mean, look,
and then the color.
There's drones now that are doing what I needed a helicopter to do 10 years ago.
Right,
the technology is
so true.
Changing, and the things you'll always need. If you want to blow something up, it's always going to be expensive. If you want a mansion, you're always going to have to find someone to give it to you. But there's ways to make good movies. First of all, there were ways to make movies back then for little money. But now there are ways to show your talents really easily, get them out instantaneously, and if you're good, you'll rise to the top.
Well, the pandemic, I think, did that for a lot of people. They made White Lotus, which I don't know if you watched White Lotus. White Lotus is one of the best shows.
One of the best shows ever.
It's just so good. My buddy, I was on a show with Jake Lacey, who plays the husband.
He's
you know,
amazing.
he's so amazing. You know, and I actually want to get him on the podcast. But they, you know, it was like, how can we make a show in a pandemic? And it was like, oh, we'll go to Hawaii. We'll make a bubble, and we'll make sure that everybody here is tested. And they said, and we can still, we'll find a way.
But at the bottom line is, you need Mike White.
Yeah,
who wrote something that was that good, and then obviously the actors, and then which I was just at the 4 Seasons of Maui, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But the show was incredible, you know. And but the point is people can go out and make things really inexpensively now, and that's what they should be doing. If you have some talent or think you do, go do it, and you'll know quickly. By the way,
Mike White has now made 2 things that I love dearly: School of Rock,
Enlightened was great too.
Which one?
Enlightened.
Laura Dern. Yeah, that's right. He did make that. But School of Rock and White Lotus, School of Rock. If you turn School of Rock on right now, at any point, I could sit. I'll sit and be like, oh, I love this movie so much. So
he's a brilliant guy.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. He made like this really dramatic, like, you know.
He was also like a Survivor contestant and Amazing Race. Also, he like went on those shows.
Really?
As contestants. He's a really interesting dude. And,
there it is right
Survive.
there.
I could never do Survivor.
I would never want to. But
yeah,
I would never want to do Survivor.
I cannot. Like I said, I don't like to leave my house. There's no way I'm gonna put bugs on my head. You know,
that'd be a great show. They just like, you know, they
take the people who just do not want to leave their home.
But how they would do it though is they would come with, like, you know, 2 guys would come get him, put a bag on his head, and he would just wake up in China. Like what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like Room Raiders, except on steroids. Remember that MTV show Room Raiders?
Oh no.
What? Okay, now I feel old. What are you talking about? There was a show where, I mean, it was probably scripted because this show was
all that stuff is
in
scripted.
Existence now. But they would go to their friend's house, grab him, put him in a truck, and then his other friend would go through his room and like find and embarrass things and put a black light on his room and all this stuff, and he has to sit in a van watching it on video. It actually got kind of dark.
I like that.
This was on MTV though.
Well, I remember it's got to be 15 years ago. I saw like a Dateline, and they were showing reality shows from like Germany, and the show was like where these 3 guys are hunting. It's a prank show, and one of them like this is before reality was really there, maybe 20 years ago, and one of them fires his gun, and all of a sudden he hears, oh, you know, and they pretend he killed like his friend, and this is a prank show, and I remember watching it going, this is the end of modern civilization, and then the reality really started coming in, but now I watch it.
And then like you got like Punked and all that stuff. Yeah. Ashton Kutcher is starting a whole new idea of it.
Well, that was like, I remember that era where it was like, it was a writer's strike, you know, and they couldn't get the writers to write anymore because they were like, hey, we want more money, we want more say, or whatever it was at the time. You were a part of that, I'm sure. Yeah. And then they were like, okay, well, we're going to do reality. And then the reality came, and it was like all reality shows. Yeah. But then they started to go, oh, you know what? We're not making any back end on reality shows because nobody's watching reruns of Survivor 10. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so that's a really good way to put it.
Ugh, we need these writers.
But they're working. There's a lot of reality on, and you know, they don't cost a lot, and they don't have to pay the contestants anything. So, you know, it's
well, because now they know now the contestants know what they can get out of it, and then contestants will get all these hundreds of thousands of followers from it. Then they're going to make their own brand deals anyway, so they're going to make their money anyways.
That's the Food Network people. I love those things.
But it's also like, for instance, I literally just finished my first ever full season of Bachelor in Paradise. I've never watched really a lot of reality TV.
Why are we talking about that?
It's great.
What do you think? You like it?
I honestly
See, my
loved
problem
it.
with Bachelor in Paradise, my girlfriend, it's now 3 years. The first year, she would bring like 20 good-looking women over to watch Bachelor and Bachelor in Paradise every Monday. So I'm like, this is great. I don't leave my house. Beautiful women come over to the house, and then the pandemic happens. Yeah, I was the host, and now somehow I'm stuck watching this just the 2 of us every week, and it's horrible. But there are some good ones. And you're talking food. I mean, I got into Master Chef like 4 weeks ago, which I've never seen. Gordon Ramsay, by the way, who is Ari Gold. He's nastier than Ari Gold ever was, and I love it. I think I've watched like 100 episodes of Master Chef in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. When I get bored, literally, when I get bored, I just watch compilations of him going off on people.
He's awesome. You should watch Love Island, but the UK or Australia versions if you like. It's so much better than Bachelor in Paradise.
Is that the first? That come out before or after the American version?
Before.
Oh,
I love any reality show that is sort of a psychological experiment. I'm a huge Big Brother guy. I've been watching Big Brother now for like, it's such a great psychological experiment.
Love is Blind was a good psychological experiment.
Yeah, but nonsense.
Why?
Oh, come on.
They were crying. These people fell in love. They never saw each other. It was phenomenal.
Did they fall in love?
They did. They're married, some of them.
I don't think are they still married. We got to do
yes.
a follow up.
I mean, I thought it was great. I thought it was actually well done.
You know what I love about you, which I really, and I bet you are pretentious as in some ways,
maybe
for some things.
Okay,
you know what I mean. And then at the same time, you you have your guilty pleasures.
I'm low rent. I don't even want to put myself as pretentious because I will try any of this. I mean, one of the best, Marrying Millions. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah, but these are shows
phenomenal.
I know. But
is that a reality show?
Yeah, it's like I mean this guy, literally this guy who like lives on a skateboard.
Won the Audi Award,
the hell?
a Sovis Award.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
This guy who like literally lives on his skateboard gets this rich woman who's lives in like a $7 million house in Seattle and is like a normal working woman, and this guy's basically homeless. She's moving him into the house, and his parents are telling him like he can't be with this woman, like because
you sound like
it's not good for him.
This is my that's my 90-day fiance obsession.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, don't start that one because you'll never stop. But what I'm saying is this though. But if when you're watching a show, a scripted show,
I judge.
Can you turn your brain off?
I can turn it off when it's great. Like
I know exactly.
Yeah. Like when I see White Lotus, I am only thinking, I wish I could have made this. And there's not a lot of stuff I see that. I don't care what anybody else's opinions are. When I see something that I go, this is so good, that's when I go, God, I wish I really dug in and try to write something this good. But most of the shit I see that people talk about how great it is, I can't stand. So
as a performer, I find this is what happens to me. If I'm watching something and it doesn't grab me. Let's not say it doesn't grab me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I find myself watching and I do things like this. I go, ooh, that must have been a tough day. That was like 6 setups right there.
Yeah.
I know that was a day.
You watch it from like you reverse engineer it
as
you watch. I do the same
thing. I go,
thing.
oh, that was a setup.
See, I don't do that. As soon as I'm out, I'm out. I turn things
you just
off
turn
quickly
it off?
and
Got it.
I'm done. And there's only
That's
so
the
much time
pretentious
in the
part
day.
I'm talking about.
But it's not. It's honestly, it's not even pretentious because I'm not saying that I know or I don't know. You either get me or you don't, and that's it.
Yeah. You're a man who
That's what
knows
I
how
mean.
you want to spend your time.
Yeah,
I guess that's mainly what it comes
down
down
to. And most of
to.
it is stoned watching MasterChef or Love Island Australia.
I love watching these like Food Network things, and then you find out like how big the Food Network is because like somebody will go on a cooking show, they'll win some competition, and the next thing you know, they just opened up a restaurant in Minnesota, and they're like the head chef, and they had this thing, and I go, oh, this is like I love a niche audience.
Yeah,
I mean
that's
big.
what it is.
It's big, and people love food, and But what I'm getting so fat watching MasterChef, it makes me want to eat every.
That's
day.
the one thing I don't like about about watching food shows is that I just want to bake or make food or
and there's
whatever.
nothing healthy they're doing. They're like more butter, more salt, more sugar, more this. But
no one wants to watch the vegan, cooking show.
They probably have one, but I haven't. Seen
nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants. So, are you since you're a homebody? Are you cooking a lot? Do you cook? Or
do you order in?
You know what? This pandemic, my girlfriend would be horrified. We started cooking together, and then she started getting really good, and I just started getting to edibles. So I would just crash on the couch, and she was really, really good to me to make me a lot of great meals during this thing.
That's the opposite for me. My chick moved in with me, and then I started doing cooking. I started cooking, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would enjoy it to the point when they reopened restaurants, and I remember going to a really fancy like Morton's or something in Beverly Hills because they opened it up, and I was like, I'm not enjoying this as much as I enjoy like having to prepare everything and then experiencing the meal.
I don't like cleaning, so
the cleaning is the worst part of it.
And and then you watch Gordon Ramsay, like a dirty chef is like like evil to me. You idiot, like clean up your station. But I mean, like I like to cook. I don't like to clean, but I'm the same way as you. Like the only times I would go out before the pandemic, I loved to eat and go to restaurants. And now I'm like, why am I sitting in this restaurant for $400? Getting stuff that I can make at home.
Because I'm bougie too. Like I'm a creature of comfort. So my thing is like
creature of comfort.
Yeah,
I like that.
So like if I'm on a flight and I feel like okay, I'm in some coach seat, then I'm like I'm not gonna do this. I didn't get I'll pay. It's like I just like I like going to really fancy restaurants, not because it's like it's like I want the best.
The food. Yeah,
I like the food.
Stuff.
I want it to taste good, and so you just like you find yourself doing that. But I don't know. I mean, during this pandemic, I just I find myself I go perform, then I go home.
Right.
And now if I'm going on the road, which I'm doing a lot right now. Yeah. It's it's airport, hotel, club, hotel, club, hotel, club, hotel, home.
Right.
You know, I'm not exploring the city and all this kind of stuff because every other city's got different restrictions. It's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
Do you catch yourself eating when you're watching something, or do you not like watching anything when you eat?
No, I'm like I have to eat while I'm watching. It's bad.
I'm the same
bad.
way.
It's like a drug. Honestly,
that
that's
like
my drug. It's my drug for sure.
Is that like a what is that? Is that like a
It's
overstimulation? Like we love that, like eating this while watching something, or is it just like is that because you may be like writing too?
I'm not
is
a
that...
psychologist, but what I can tell you is like when I'm like I get my bowl of ice cream ready. If my girlfriend is not ready to watch the show, I'm pissed because I watch it melt and I literally don't want to eat until I start.
The clock has started once the ice cream goes in the bowl. Same thing with cereal. It gets soggy.
But we come from an era of appointment television.
Oh, where at 8 p.m. it starts.
Yeah.
You can't just click it whenever.
In the kitchen, we're like, hurry up! I mean, that's just, that's our thing. You know what I mean? That was a beautiful thing, though. It's a beautiful thing to share a show with your loved one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now that those days are gone, you know?
What do you mean they're gone?
Yeah,
I watch with a bunch of shows with my girlfriend.
When you're out of town, you don't think she's watching the next episode?
Of course she's not watching the next episode.
You are fooling yourself.
No. That's like a breakup. If you go and you watch, especially if you're on like at season 2 or something, and you're telling me I just wasted.
Dishonorable.
But here's the
dishonorable.
Here's the worst part, because now with Netflix, like I was just in Arizona visiting my son at college, and my girlfriend and I started a show, and I like watched an episode. She sees it when she goes on Netflix.
Yeah, but
She's like, did you skip an episode? I'm like, no. She's like, you're lying. I'm like,
well, you guys don't have your own profile?
You know what? Maybe that's what I need.
I got my own profile. Yeah. I yell at her. I'm like, because it'll be like, because you watched, and I'm like, I didn't want to watch whatever the hell that is, and now my
well, I saw this on my profile because I didn't even realize my ex-girlfriend years ago. I didn't understand what was happening. Every day it was like, do you want to continue watching this? And I'm like, who the f is? And I realized she in the middle of Africa in the jungles was watching my.
Oh, she had your password still?
I mean, there was no password. She had it on her, or whatever, her iPad, and then she took it.
She never logged out.
It's so hard. It's so hard to break up with someone now and really get them out of your life.
They have
Back
to
in the day, it was just
it's a good thing.
You just erase their number from your black book and you're done. You never have to deal with them again. Now it's like you got to block them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You get their email, their phone number. It's just so tough to like get someone out of your life. You got to make sure all your passwords are changed. But listen, I can tell you got that. I got to go someplace else.
I got to do my podcast.
He's got to do his thing. You got that vibe going on.
We're working so hard nowadays. I can talk more now. You know?
But we really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Did you get everything out of the note? Because Matt goes to the notebook.
I did.
He's a 65-year-old man.
I'm very detail oriented, but
yes,
I did get honestly a lot of.
Did you get it all in?
I got there's a couple questions, but
what'd you miss? Give me one last one.
Come on.
Nicest celebrity you've met on the set.
I mean, that's so hard.
I know, that's why I didn't want to ask that.
No, but
one.
I met so many, and if you ask me this every day, but the first one that came to my mind, just because it came to me, Matt Damon was like
awesome. That's
I mean,
so cool.
He was unbelievable.
Okay, better question.
That wasn't the next one. It's me to celebrity.
Who's one where you went, I could do without meeting this person ever again?
I mean,
if you don't want to say, that's good too.
No. I'm not shy. Everyone pretty much who came on my set wanted to be there. So anyone who was on Entourage wanted to be there. I did have one story which was devastating to my life. I hope you fucking know who I'm talking about. But, you know, I was sitting outside of a hotel in New York, and there was a kid there with a pad like this, but he was waiting for autographs. And I was like, who are you waiting for? And he goes, Jimmy Page. Please tell me you know who Jimmy Page is. Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway, so Jimmy Page, who is one of the greatest guitar players of all time, Led Zeppelin. Anyway, so I'm like, you're waiting for Jimmy Page? I'm like, I'm waiting also. So I stood there, and Jimmy Page comes out of this hotel, and the kid, who looked like a nice, cute kid, was like, Jimmy, let me get an autograph. And Jimmy Page turned, he goes, fuck off, kid. And I was devastated. Now, maybe this kid was like a professional autograph hound or something, but anyway. But I still love him, and the last song of Entourage was Led Zeppelin that they were nice enough to give us. So
that's a great little ending point there. We're
so
good.
much.
This is I'm Erik Griffin.
Matthew Espinosa.
Doug Ellen, check out Victory the Podcast.
Yes.
Anything else you want to promote?
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to promote?
I have 2 podcasts. Victory the Podcast and Hollywood Wayz with Breezy. Was on Empire and
All American.
All American. Thank you.
Gotcha.
So,
And you guys are on Fireside too, right?
we're about to start being on Fireside. Are you on Fireside?
I'm about to get on Fireside too.
we're
And
about
I'm going
to
to
do
talk
it.
to Matt about us getting on Fireside.
Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm excited about
Yeah, it's really a good little
I just
platform.
met with them, and Mark Cuban talked to me about it. It looks awesome.
Oh,
So
you got
I'm
the
excited.
Mark Cuban treatment. Wow.
Mark Cuban said that we got him Shark Tank. You know, I put him on Entourage before he was really acting.
That's true.
Camera talent.
He loves being himself on stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the greatest guys in the world.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching Gen to Gen, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.